Can we get started with what's going on with Kermit and the...
with Miss Piggy.
I mean, I don't know what's going on with Denise.
Drama.
It's amazing to me how it's exploded on the internet. I mean, to all of us. I don't think we expected that at all. We've been talking about the idea of Kermit and Piggy having a breakup of some kind for probably 25 years. Even back, Miss Piggy is now performed by an incredible puppeteer named Eric Jacobson, but formerly was created by Frank Oz, And when I first began doing Kermit in 1990, Frank was already saying, I'm so bored of the Kermit and Piggy. What can we do? We got to do something different. We got to come up with something different, And we never did, because everybody would say, yeah, but that's what people expected and they wanted. And the number one question, even now, because of the breakup thing, is still about Kermit and Piggy. So it's something we've talked about for a long time. And it seemed like a fun time to do it. And it's really the, hello. Well, that's a surprise. That's probably Miss Piggy back there. But it's really the premise of this new show we're doing. The conceit of the show is that they've broken up, but they have to work together. So it makes a great start for this show. But the deal is, what we're saying, well, first of all, this show is meant to be about the Muppets' real lives. That's as though there's no barrier at all between our actual world as human beings and the Muppets. They live in 2015 in the real world, and they're shooting a show in Los Angeles, which is Miss Piggy's late night show. But yet they're not a couple anymore. They've just broken up, so there's a lot of tension, and a lot of what plays out every day. Kermit is executive producing her show, and yet we have this documentary crew going on shooting. It's all handheld cameras, and Kermit is now seeing Denise, this other younger pig. He has a thing for pigs, and so he hasn't switched species. He just switced pigs. But yeah, how would you ever know that it's going to be that big a deal to people? And it's so much fun that everybody from the fans right up to hardcore kind of cynical press people are playing with us and playing so seriously, It's really fun.
It's on Entertainment Weekly. And
yeah, it's everywhere.
Yeah.
It's everywhere.
Whose idea was it to have him tweet it?
Well, I don't know whose specific idea it was. It wasn't mine, but there's, that's the great thing about working with Disney at this stage, because we've landed in a great place. The Muppets are in a great place in Disney, and there's so many resources. So it's ABC marketing and, marketing people at the Muppet Studios, coming up with all these different ways to exploit the fact that the internet can do all of this stuff, And I like it because it just reinforces that these things that are these inanimate objects that we try to, give life to, it makes them seem so much more real, for them to have this private life that's like a scandal on the internet,
With the marketing machine behind this show and all the excitement building up to it, are expectations and attitudes a lot more positive and higher than they were for Muppets Tonight, because it didn't seem like ABC was as supportive of the show and you didn't have that huge marketing push behind it.
Well, there is a big marketing push behind it, that's for sure.
Well, the new one, but
this new one, maybe not in the original. In that earlier one. Muppets Tonight. I think that it was. That seems to me there was some decision making on where it should be placed, and it got moved around a little bit, and people lost track of it. I don't know. Oddly enough, there's so many more choices on television these days, but it feels like it's being followed more now. Like, even if we could go anywhere with it and it would work, but Tuesday night's an interesting place. And I think the Muppets, a part of the big appeal of the Muppets that kept them going and launched them into this longevity that they've had for so long, since the Muppet Show days, is because they were very novel at that point when they came on primetime. They had done Sesame Street, but suddenly we were on primetime TV, and that nobody had done anything quite like that before. And it feels like we're kind of novel again in a way. We've never gone anywhere, but we've been out of the public eye in really big projects. We did these last two feature films, but it always sort of felt to me like television was a good choice, to every week, and it's where our characters get to really grow and evolve and stay with current events and not current events so much, but just in current, lifestyles and things that are going on. And this is the first time we've ever shot a series where it was handheld cameras. We have always been afraid of that because obviously we have limitations as to what you can see. You don't want to shoot too low on these characters. And Randall Einhorn, this director from The Office and from Fargo and other things, has enormous experience with the handheld cameras and shooting those behind-the-scene documentary feeling shows. And we're doing these like swish pans to find characters, stuff like that, and missing all the time and having to do it again, But it's a great style for us, it turns out. We never would have guessed it. And ABC is loving it. We are laughing when we do the read-throughs to the point where we have to stop and take pauses before we continue, Bill Prady is producing this thing, and he is a former Henson employee. He got his start with the Muppets 20-something years ago. Now he's a big shot doing Big Bang Theory, But the writing, we got about a dozen writers, and they are all great and just working as a team. And we as performers are feeling enthused about it. And we don't always feel that way. A script goes in front of us and we do what the script is, but this we're able to play and we're adding little things all the time. Really placing these characters in the real world.
Is there going to be another theatrical Muppet movie?
Well, I don't think we're focused on that at all. I mean, maybe if this show keeps going, it could happen again. It's always possible. But it feels like, the Muppet Show happened and then we started doing movies, and it sort of feels like to do these characters on a television show again would be a good way to establish them, to launch them into other stuff like that. What I hope we continue to do, and we will actually, is to do, we did a bunch of viral videos that went viral a few years ago. And those were so much fun. They were very much like the big opening numbers that used to be on the Muppet Show, like 3-minute pieces. And we're debuting one of them here at DragonCon in the next panel we do. It's not on YouTube. No one has seen it yet, and we're going to debut it here, and then it hits YouTube, I guess, today. So that'll be fun, and that kind of stuff. It's gotten us through keeping the Muppets alive in times when we didn't have a series or a film, with the real hardcore fans. So, but if I had a film, we'll wait and see, I guess. Frankly, I love doing the television as a performer who's been doing this a long time. Television is so much more immediate and exhausting, but so much more fun, to get through. And you see it in a week or two, or instant gratification for seeing the work and stuff like that.
With guest celebrities, obviously the Muppets have always done a good job at bringing people in. But it seems like with the hype and the marketing that's going on, it seems like celebrities are coming to you guys instead of you reaching out to pull people in.
It's both. It's both. It's at the moment it's a bit like it was in the early Muppet Show years. Jim wanted to do this show, and he relied on his friends, people that he had worked with, celebrities that he knew, and he would try to recruit those people, and they were all happy to do it. And as the show gained popularity, more and more people really wanted to do it. Even for a while it was celebrities who had kids, of course, but then everybody wanted to do it. I think this will happen with this show too. I think once people see it and they understand that it's a good thing for them to do in terms of just the fun of the show. But yeah, we've had some people, jump to the front of the line, and then you beg some people. Yeah. That's the way it works. But we're really, from a performance standpoint, from the puppeteering standpoint, which is kind of why I'm here at DragonCon, less about really promoting this show and more about just the fact that the people at the puppetry track at DragonCon asked me to come from the puppetry point of view. And we're really pushing the boundaries of what we've been able to do with the puppets before. Kermit, we typically, if Kermit wanted to pick up an object, he can't do it. Some of the characters have these hands that we have our hands inside of, but Kermit can't pick something up. And my general rule is, it doesn't always work, is that if it seems like Kermit should be handling a prop, we figure out a way to do it. And it's not always possible, but that's what I'm trying to do. Incidental stuff, like it has nothing to do with the scene, but he's having a conversation, he's sitting at a table and he's thumbing through something while he's talking, all those little things that an actor would do on a series just to add interest and reality, trying to add all that stuff. And I think it's more important with our characters than ever before in giving them this real world feel,
With bringing the puppetry back in on mainstream,
right?
What are you most excited about to see happen with that?
In terms of that, well, that's a big part of it. What I was just saying, we have 7 sort of core performers who do most of the main Muppet characters, seven people. And then we have a whole bunch of other puppeteers who work with us in Los Angeles who come in for those big giant scenes, and they double for us. You know, if there's another character that I do, like I do Rizzo and I do Kermit, Rizzo the Rat, somebody else would do Rizzo while I'm doing Kermit, and vice versa sometimes. And we dub the voices. All of those people, some of those people don't get to work with us very much. It's great to have them in the fold because they're learning as we go, and just all of us being in the same room as a group, everybody benefits from it. You know, we learn new stuff all the time. I don't think there are any experts at what we do. I think if you're an expert, then you've forgotten to learn anything, you know.
Is it exciting to know that also under the whole Disney umbrella, J.J. Abrams taking Star Wars back more to puppetry rather than everything being CGI in that direction?
I think it's great. I mean, I have nothing against CGI, but I just like to me, the limitations of at least in the Muppets case, the limitations of what they can't do is just challenges us to try to get more out of them in terms of lifelike things. And when it comes to a character like Yoda, I would rather kind of see him, and you know, a lot of people say that they'd rather see him back in the puppet version, even though it's limited and more crude, and it can't do the you know, flipping around karate scene. You know, I'd rather see him limited and bring that life. And I feel like it's not always the case. Some of it is amazing. Some characters are incredibly alive, but I think there's something about the spontaneity for a live actor to play off of something that's right there than to be playing to a green sock or something that's going to be all put in later, you know. I think you can feel that chemistry a little
You've
bit.
got all your old characters in the new show. Would you introduce any new?
Yeah.
You got your old ones, but would
Right.
you introduce some new ones?
Yeah, all the old guys are back. Well, not all of them actually, but we'll find ways to work them in, I expect. And new characters will come along. I think there's a general consensus that it would be nice to kind of reestablish the core characters first: Kermit, Miss Piggy, Fozzie, Gonzo, Scooter, and kind of trickle down. It's like this pyramid. There's Kermit, and then there's Piggy and Fozzie, and then in terms of how they're known. But the other fun part is that there are so many characters that we don't really know very much about them. Like the Swedish chef, we know he does the thing that he does, or you know, we don't know what he does when he goes home at night. And so this show gives the opportunity to start thinking about who they are when they're not doing what we've always seen them do. So in a way, those characters are being renewed, and in many ways, you know, which is great fun for us because the same people are doing those characters that have done them for 15, 20 or more years. So for those performers, they really get to expand not only their skills, but things they've been rolling around the back of their minds for years, you know.
What was the most valuable lesson you learned working under Jim Henson, from Jim Henson?
You know, it's really interesting. I never say that I worked for Jim. I always say I worked with him, and intentionally, but it's true. He was a really incredible organizer of people and an appreciator of whatever it was that an individual brought to the whole big scheme. And he was really good at taking all of these little things and forming them into something that worked. He would meet someone at a puppetry festival, or just in his daily life, an artist, or they could be somebody known or somebody unknown, and he would somehow file away that person's talent. And 5 years later, he'd be doing a project, and he'd say, I met this guy a few years ago, and I think with that little thing he was doing would really be good for this project. And he would somehow find that person, you know. And also in appreciating people, I keep finding out from different people, like Peter Mayhew is here, who does Chewbacca. I haven't run into him, and I hope I do. But we did the Muppet Show. Those characters were on the Muppet Show way back in the early Star Wars days. And I ran into Peter a few years back, after having not seen him for 30 years or something. And he said, you know, every year when Jim was alive, he would send me something at Christmas. You know, and he just kept that going with, and I'm thinking he did that with most of the people he worked with. And he said, I've got this little shrine in my house that's all the things Jim sent me over the years, like Kermit watches and toys and handwritten notes and things, you know. So he really appreciated people's contribution to helping make him a success, whether it was us or whether it was outside people. And trying to keep that kind of a legacy going is as important as any of it, you know. it's a great thing to learn because it gets overlooked so much these days, you know. Oh, we were winding down
I'll
anyway.
take it if nobody's
Yeah,
got
go.
one. When I told people I was gonna get a chance to talk to you, everybody told me to ask you, Statler Waldorf, are they gonna be on the new show?
Yeah, they are. They have a seat in the audience. They're not in a box anymore. You know, I don't know whether you guys know, the real premise of the show is that there's a late night show that the Muppets are doing that supposedly is on sometime in the middle of the night, so you'd never find it, which is why it's not there. And then this documentary crew is coming in and documenting the behind the scenes. So there's the set is amazing. The set is the biggest set we've ever worked in. It's a continuous set. The entire soundstage is the floor of a building. It leads from the offices into the actual stage, which is like a late night talk show, and there's an audience seating section. So on the front row, like almost centered, there's two chairs that are Statler and Waldorf. So they're right there doing what they always do. Fozzie is the warm-up comedian for Miss Piggy for her late night show. So they're still heckling Fozzie, and you know, we're just about to do a great show. I guess I can't talk about the show too much, the ideas in the show. But it really features Statler and Waldorf. It's going to be a really good one, I'll say that much, in a way you haven't seen them before either. Thank you, guys.
Well, thank you for coming.
Oh, thank you for coming. I'm glad you're interested in all this. It's very cool.